I know Joe Biden and the Democrats pretend to care about forgiving student loan debt, which is the bubble is around $1.67 trillion now. I mean, it's completely obscene, not to mention immoral and unethical. And a lot of people young people came out to vote for the Democrats now in the midterms. And again, they lost the House, right? But they weren't wiped out as some people had projected with this quote-unquote red wave, which also did not materialize. I'll get into why in a second. But this was a promise from progressives, AOC, Ilhan Omar, who got into Congress years ago. They said, we're going to get you health care, we're going to get you free college, we're going to protect the environment, we're going to do all the nice things that all our allies do, right? Allies of the U.S. Basic things, right? Nothing special or communist, whatever they. And Joe Biden himself underscored and underlined, pointed out the importance of the young voter or youth turnout in the midterms just a few days ago. Let me play this clip.
And I especially want to thank the young people of this nation, who I'm told, I haven't seen the numbers, voted historic numbers again, and just as they did 2 years ago. And they voted to continue addressing the climate crisis, gun violence, their personal rights and freedoms, and the student debt relief. Last night, I was pleased to call Maxwell Frost, a 25-year-old who got elected, I guess the youngest man ever elected to the United States Congress. And I told him I told him that I was the first elected, the second youngest person ever elected to the United States Senate at 29. That I have no doubt he's off to an incredible start and what I'm sure will be a long, distinguished career. And when he's president and they say Joe Biden's out in the outer office, I know I'm going to say Joe who. And I especially want to thank the young people of this nation.
Okay, so don't take my word for it. Biden said it himself. And, this is very egregious and dishonest what they've been doing. They've been playing games with people. You remember when Biden was running for president, he said, I'm going to give everybody $2,000 checks. He lied. He said, Trump gave you $600 in December. So, now I'm going to give you just $1,400, which equals $2,000 in total. Like, what are you trying to rip off your own demographic, the people who put you in? What is that? What a cheapskate. And then, of course, they played this game with the minimum wage, raising the minimum wage, right? They voted for it in the House, and then they sent it to the Senate, this omnibus, earlier in the year, and then the Senate removed it and sent it back to the House, right, to approve the changes. And the same people like AOC who pretend to be in favor of raising the minimum wage to $15, which if you adjust for inflation is still not enough. But even these crumbs, you know what happened when it bounced back to the House with the minimum wage removed? They voted for it, which again shows you how nefarious and two-faced they are. And so people, young people, came out in the midterms and saved the Democrats from a humiliating defeat, and they're not getting anything. This promise, dangling this carrot of, we're going to get you a student loan debt relief. I mean, it's a scam. If you look at the plan, it's not even, I mean, to call it crumbs is already, giving it too much importance. Look at this. This only applies to people who earn less than $125,000 a year. Okay, so they'll give you $20,000 if you went to college on Pell Grants, or $10,000 if you didn't receive Pell Grant. I don't see how that helps anyone, because even if you're making, let's say, you're making $126,000 a year, why should you be saddled with, an amount of debt that is equal to or greater than your yearly salary for the rest of your life for the crime of getting an education, which everybody told you to go do so you can make your way in life and pull yourself up by the bootstraps, right? Which they love to say. So, number one, my point is that this bracket is so narrow that they're already just giving you crumbs. So, if you make less than $125,000, instead of wiping out the whole thing, you just get $20,000. But that's not even happening. let me explain to you what Joe Biden did. Biden tried to push this plan through, knowing that this would be struck down in Texas, as it did happen by a Trump-appointed judge, right? So now they're putting the blame on Trump. This orange Cheeto man, he's so evil and Machiavellian. He like planned in advance to put these judges everywhere so that, he could prevent us from doing these things that we swear we want to do because we love you and we're so honest, right? No. I'm sorry. This is not acceptable. The Office of Legal Counsel in the Justice Department are not fools. They do this for a living. They know exactly where this is going to go and who's going to strike it down and what chances it stands in court. This is their job. This is their field. They, instead of tying this to the Higher Education Act from the 1960s, you know what they did? The Biden administration used COVID and the war on terror as their legal basis, their legal argument to forgive student loan debt. What the hell? Yeah. So the legislation that they relied upon is called the HEROES Act, and it's from 2003. So it's just on the cusp of the Iraq War. It's about a year into the war on terror, and you can get anything through Congress, right? Like everybody's united. Oh, we got to fight those bearded Arabs in caves, and we got to do this, we got to do that. Patriot Act, okay. Mass surveillance, okay. We want to go to war with Iraq, okay. Afghanistan, okay. Let's just do whatever we want. Democrats, Republicans, all of them. And the HEROES Act basically says that if there's a national emergency that would put people in a worse off situation, students in a worse off situation, then it's okay to take executive action and in this case cancel or alleviate some of their debt. And Biden's argument was that, well, look, COVID is a national emergency. Yeah, it is. It's a global one, actually, right? So I understand that, but the way that this was interpreted in court is you have different schools of thought in the legal field, which is we are going to interpret the law exactly as it is written, or we will interpret the law in accordance and in tandem with the context of the situation. Okay, and so it was struck down because instead of taking into context the fact that you had a global pandemic and it didn't just screw over students. Many people lost their jobs. They couldn't go to work. I don't need to explain this to you, but many people were worse off as a result, not just in the US. The corporations weren't, though, right? They got billions. Don't worry about them. They're always taken care of. Remember, Biden and all the people in Congress, they do their service. It's just they don't serve you. They serve corporations. So the logic was that, look, we had a national emergency and it left students worse off. So we can do this and we'll do this. And of course, without taking the context into account, there's one page, literally one page out of 25 pages, I think, in the whole document that explained the relevance of doing this through the HEROES Act. And it failed. And they knew it would fail. They knew it. If Biden really wanted to do it this way, he shouldn't have done this now. He's been in office how long now? Almost 2 years, right? We are in November 2022. In 2 months, Biden will have been president for 2 years. I think we can all agree that the pandemic situation was much worse a year ago or when he took office, right? People were even saying, hey, Trump messed this up, so please come in and fix what he did. And, we need a real adult in the room and all this stuff. So why didn't he forgive the student loan debt when we were at the peak of the crisis? Right? Because that's his argument. It's not mine. It's his in court. He's saying we have a crisis. Okay, so why did you wait until fall 2022? I never say fall. I say autumn. But that's already a telltale sign. Number one. Number two, there is, as I said, the Higher Education Act. Okay, so this is from 1965, I believe. This is a much more sound legal basis for Biden to cancel or alleviate student loan debt if he was really intent and determined upon doing so, okay? On doing that. And so they did not take the sounder legislation and legal basis. They just discarded it and took something wonky and flaky and shaky and unreliable, and they knew it would not stand in court. And this is to be expected because Joe Biden, his whole career since he was in Congress, long before he became president, he has said, even on tape, he says, I wanted to prostitute myself to the corporations and the people who fund DC, right? But he said, I wasn't, I didn't have a senior enough position in government or something like that, So he's openly saying, that's who I work. And you can see from his track record, this guy with the 94 crime bill, what did he do? He put tons of people in jail for nonviolent crimes with this three strikes law bullshit, and ruined countless communities, countless families. And who benefits from that? The private prison industry in the United States. They have made a literal killing off of this. The United States is the largest prison population on earth. You can thank Joe Biden, among other people, for contributing to that. The idea that you can own a prison is already sick. I don't even know. And the banks, the credit cards. Biden was a senator from Delaware. Delaware is known as the, quote unquote, tax haven of the U.S. So you have a lot of companies that are headquartered in Delaware. So this guy knows the ins and outs. You don't become the senator in Delaware and not know what's going on. Just remember with Obama, what did they do as soon as they got into office? They bailed out all the banks. They bailed out Wall Street after these criminals and crooks ruined millions of people's livelihoods and homes and crashed the world economy. So, Biden, whatever period of his career you look at, VP, senator, president, he's always taking care of his clientele, or should I say his patrons, right? He's always taking care of his buddies in the private sector, whether it's the military-industrial complex, remember supporting the Iraq War, helping to push for the Iraq War in 98 already, the credit cards, the banks, all of this. So if you think Joe Biden suddenly had a change of heart and he had an epiphany and suddenly fucking decided to be some angel who wants to forgive student loan debt, you are nuts. You are politically and historically illiterate, and you are gullible. Joe Biden is as crooked as they come. I'm not saying he's especially worse than Trump. They're both the same crap. They are the same. And they knew that this would not stand in court. If I know this, you think the fucking lawyers at the Justice Department don't know this? Grow up. So even The Guardian pointed this out, right? Look at this. They go through how it's the youth, it's the young voter turnout that saved Democrats in the midterms, although, again, they lost the House. But nevertheless, they came out and they voted because they were promised something for their vote. You should always, you shouldn't just give people your vote for free because they say the other guy is a monster. They're both monsters. So make sure you get something from those monsters for your vote if you vote for them. So we've established that. Young people saved the day. And if you want to look at the tally, remember, it's 218 for the GOP, 218 seats, 211 for Democrats. But I want to go down and show you here what they wrote about the percentages. So according to the Center for Information and Research on Civic Learning and Engagement, Circle, an estimated 27% of U.S. youth aged between 18 and 29, so these are people who are in college, cast their ballot in this year's midterm election. That makes it the second highest youth turnout in any midterm vote in history, which generally have lower turnouts than presidential election cycles. There were nearly 52 million eligible votes in the age group in the U.S. in 2022. So again, it's not 90%, but it's still the second highest in history. So you can definitely see from the data that this is not just conjecture, it's actually backed up by data, right? The age group has considerably more Democratic voters than any other. Okay, so voters are split between parties in the 30 to 44 demographic and increasingly favoring Republicans in the 45 to 64 and 65 plus demographic. So basically they're saying the older you get, the more the older the demographic, the more you'll find they vote for Republican. But that doesn't change the fact that you had the highest youth turnout who vote Democrat mostly. Okay, so while Tuesday's youth turnout was far behind the 2020 presidential election, which saw more than half of the age group cast a ballot, young people were particularly influential in several key races, data shows. So here's a tweet from Victor Shi. Says, "We can't talk about John Fetterman without talking about the youth vote. So this is the guy that beat Dr. Oz, right? And he's in favor of student loan cancellation. And he did a very nice photo op with the war criminal Barack Obama, right? The drone reaper. Anyway, let me just read the tweet. He said, "We can't talk about John Fetterman without talking about the youth vote. Almost 79% of young people voted for Democrats. They voted for Democrats in the early vote, and more than 70% of young people voted for Democrats based off PA exit polls. So young voters basically helped turn Pennsylvania blue." That's just one state as an example, okay? So if you have any doubts about what Biden is saying, or what Fetterman is saying, or what The Guardian is saying, it's backed up by data, okay? And I feel sorry. I feel sorry for all these people who came out to vote because you've been tricked and duped. And I'm not saying Republicans are any better, not by a long shot. But Democrats are this is the white liberal that Malcolm X warned us about. It's the wolf in sheep's clothing. These motherfuckers, they come and befriend people of color. They befriend young people. They befriend minorities and pretend to care about them just so they can get their support and make themselves look good. They are no different from the Republicans. I mean, just from foreign policy alone, you can see how hawkish and neoconservative they're fucking indistinguishable. I can tell you one thing, man. Those bombs that are falling on Syria, on Libya, on Afghanistan, on Iraq, there was no difference for anyone there, whether they were Democrat or Republican. They were the same bombs from the same companies from the same country. And the extent of this corruption and similarity between not two parties, they are two wings of a one-party state, is so extensive that, even the people in the United States who, if this is the biggest empire, well, the British Empire is the largest in history, but the torch was handed over to the Americans. If this is the most powerful and richest country on earth, and there are 800 military bases everywhere, and there are resources being stolen, and there are coups and election meddling being carried out, and all of this money is being spent on defense and to influence other countries and just take control and spread American hegemony, I guess it would maybe be a tiny bit less worse, so it would be a bit more acceptable if you could say, well, at least the American people are living good from all of these disgusting crimes, which obviously you would not say, but even that is not true. So these corporations, these scammers who exploit students, who exploit homeowners, who exploit workers, you name it, they not only do it at the expense of other countries and other people outside the U.S., they even do it at the expense of their own citizens, which shows you how disgusting they are. They have no sense of right or wrong or camaraderie or nothing. So let me show you a tweet, by the way. This is from... Actually, let me just finish from The Guardian, and then I'll go to the tweet, which is very good. So The Guardian say that, Biden has the power to cancel student loan debt, okay? As things stand, his debt relief plan is sabotaged by bad faith litigation. In other words, that means very crappy legal arguments, which I outlined before. While the president has rightly blasted the Republicans behind these lawsuits to block the student loan relief, the real story is more complicated. Biden could have directed the education secretary to cancel people's debts using the quote-unquote Compromise and Settlement Authority granted in the Higher Education Act of 1965. See, that's exactly what I was talking about just now. But instead, his administration invoked a different and more limited legal authority. It was this limited authority that the Texas judge formally took issue with, right? The Trump-appointed judge. So they go on to say in the article that the Biden administration also chose to make borrowers apply for the program instead of automatically issuing cancellation. A slow-moving process that bought their billionaire-backed opponents valuable time to cook up legal arguments, find plaintiffs, and line their cases up with sympathetic Trump-appointed judges poised to toe the conservative line. The White House needs to learn from its mistakes and play hardball. Biden could knock the legs out from under these cynical lawsuits tomorrow by extinguishing all federal student loans immediately and permanently using Compromise and Settlement Authority. Now that would generate some real energy and enthusiasm. This month, young people held up their end of the bargain. Now Biden must honor his. Again, I'm amused. I'm amused by the. It's a good article, but I'm amused by the author's optimism and faith that Democrats have any moral compass or care about being better than Republicans. It's funny because even in the same breath, while saying, "Hey, you guys, here's a sentence. I just read it to you, right?" So they say that Trump appointed judges poised to toe the conservative line. You're saying it's a conservative line to bar people from, having their student loans forgiven. Well, no, it's also a Democrat position. You're literally pointing this out. The whole article is about how they're not fucking doing what they promise. So what's the difference? Is it really conservative, or is it both? Apparently, it's both. If you look at the bottom line, at the end result, it's literally the same. So I don't see how this has anything to do with Trump or conservatives. It's both of them. They are literally proving that as we speak and conning people. Let me read you. These are some good tweets from Habibi, from Colin. I hope you're watching, brother. So this is what Colin wrote. He said that if Biden really wanted to forgive student loan debt, remember, Colin is a teacher. Okay, so he feels especially about this issue, and as do I, right? Even though I don't have student loan debt, I still feel for you guys. So, but again, this is what Colin said. It says, if Biden really wanted to forgive student loan debt under EO, he would have done it sooner. He used the HEROES Act instead so he used the HEROES Act instead of the Higher Education Act. So the HEROES Act is, again, the 2003 thing after 9/11, and Higher Education Act 1965. So he used the HEROES Act instead of the Higher Education Act as the basis of forgiving student debt, knowing that it would go to court. This is a con to force people to vote Democrat. I could not agree more, Habibi. I mean, I have literally nothing to add. That's it. That's it. And, I find this excruciating and abhorrent and extraordinarily egregious to listen to when people say, "Oh my God, it was a Trump-appointed lawyer." Man, fuck Trump. If you know that there's a risk of a Trump-appointed lawyer striking it down, why the fuck did you rely on a legal argument that he's going to strike down? Then at best, you're incompetent, and at worst, you are literally no different. And, that's the whole point. Democrats, Republicans, there's no difference. And it's astonishing. You can take any goddamn subject, and I can't find anything but minimal differences, if any. I think it's important to point this out. Colin also wrote this, that, the United States Senate, so this is, again, just 2 days ago, they voted to end national emergency for COVID-19. It now goes to the House. Why is this related? Colin says, forget any type of student loan forgiveness then. Right, so you see the problem here? The Biden administration says, let's cancel student loan debt because the national emergency, COVID, has left students worse off. And that's why we should alleviate some of their debt. And yet, at the same time, the Congress is moving forward to say there is no more national emergency. So this shows you, this basically makes it twice as worse and shows you how finicky of an argument this entire legal application was. Do you understand? So the only conclusion you can draw from this is that the lawyers are either idiots or they are complicit, and I don't think they're idiots. Oh, they're very smart. They know exactly what the fuck they're doing. These people literally game the system for a living. There's Biden dangling federal student loan debt in front of, I don't see how this correlates to young people, but yeah, I think the whole premise and idea of making people fork up $100,000, $200,000 for getting a diploma is outrageous. This is outrageous. I mean, look, the United States is the richest country on earth, so this is not a resource issue. You have money to bomb other countries. You have money for college. Shut the fuck up, okay? I don't want to hear it. You have money for college. Don't bullshit me. And healthcare and everything. You're the richest country in history. Don't ever tolerate someone telling you that, it's fiscally unfeasible. That is fucking horse manure of the highest order. It's a mound of cow shit. Number two, every ally of the United States, right? I'm talking specifically Western countries, but it's not only Western countries, who are capitalist to varying degrees, also have free college. So this is not a communist agenda. I mean, yeah, there's some crazy people who speak like that and think that this is some kind of socialist thing. It's not. Canada, not so much, but it's already better than the U.S. Canada, the UK, Germany, Austria, France, they all have free college. Are those communist countries? They're in NATO. So you calling your NATO allies communists? Again, this is stupid Red Scare bullshit from the 1950s. Go back in your time machine. It's a communist conspiracy. Number 3, a lot of people who identify as conservative, although again, there's barely no difference between liberals and neocons these days, but a lot of people who identify as conservative and who are opposed to this, they say that, the idea of forgiving student loan debt is unfair because I had to pay mine off. What does that mean? Like, I had to do this thing so no one else can have nice things. If everybody thought like that, we would never progress in anything anywhere on Earth. If people thought like that. Oh, that person has it better than me. I'm not going to let him have it. What are you, a fucking child? Grow up. And more importantly, number 4, people who identify as conservative, they say things like, the free market, we need growth, we need to create jobs, we need to be, giving all these tax cuts and all this freedom for corporations and trickle down economics and let them, just grow the economy. It's so important. It's the number one issue. You know what helps grow your economy? Investing in infrastructure. In other words, letting people go to college. If you want to grow your economy, you need a qualified workforce, you fucking bimbo dumbo. You need people who have gone to college. How the hell do you think you're going to advance as a country if you don't have a qualified and educated workforce? And I want to be very clear. I think this is disgusting when people say, those are skilled workers and unskilled workers. Don't give me this bullshit, man. You go stand on your feet for 12 hours at McDonald's and see how fucking easy that is, and see how much you like it. That work is just as valid and hard as a teacher or a lawyer or whatever. It's work. So don't play this bourgeoisie shit with me. But you need both, right? You just need labor. Period. It's up to everyone whether they want a college degree or not. But I'm just saying that making the ones who've decided to pursue higher education, which is very difficult, very time consuming, you have to literally dedicate your life to it and go through with it. You should not be punishing them and saddling them with debt. This is obscene. This is outrageous. There are a lot of Americans who actually go to study in Germany because it's free. How pathetic is that? If America is the greatest country on earth, why are people running away because they can't go to college and have to go do it in another country? America is the greatest country on earth in terms of, size, great in size, money, resources. So don't come here and then tell me, we have the resources for this and that and Wall Street and the bombs. And yeah, we always find a way for that. But we can't do healthcare. We can't do this. I'm not hearing this. No person should tolerate this nonsense and utter drivel. This is ridiculous. Even if you were the poorest country on earth, the first fucking thing you do is you give people healthcare and education. This is the basis of civilization. You cannot do anything without these things. So I'm not surprised that Biden is and Democrats are scamming and conning their own voter base, including the young people who saved them from a red wave, as people were speculating. I've been saying this to you since before he was elected. He is not going to do or lift a goddamn finger to do any of this stuff. This was designed to fail. They know it. They know the system better than you and me. And they are gaming and conning all of their young voters and otherwise. And remember, some of you in the comments just now, you told me you're in your 50s or 60s and you still have student loan debt. So this is not just an issue of young people. This is an issue of everybody. Like I said, the whole population. And I want to say another thing, because to the point of young people, to that point, there's an issue that a lot of young people are staying, they're living with their parents, they're living at home, for much longer than their parents' generation. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Do whatever you want. You don't have to move out, or I don't know. I know that's this mentality in the West. I don't care to scold people who live with their parents. Who cares? It's your thing, man. Whatever. Family's good. But I just want to say something. One of the reasons why people are unable to get their own place or buy a house is because of things like this. They're saddled with debt, and because of these socioeconomic conditions that are imposed on them that are completely unnecessary and unethical and immoral, they're unable to advance in their careers or buy a house or an apartment or have a family even, right? So you have a higher number of people in their late 20s who are still living at home and who have not started a family because they literally cannot afford to. Why? Because they're saddled by debt, or they are being prevented from getting a degree in the first place so that they can find a better job and so on. And they hammer this into your head since day one at school, right? You need to go to college. You finish high school, you go to college, you get a degree, you get a job, blah, blah, blah. And then you can't tell people that this is good for them and then make them pay off exorbitant amounts of money for the rest of their lives and punish them for doing it. It's not okay. People should be able to get degrees. It should not cost them a fortune. It should not cost anything. In most countries in Europe, you pay something trivial, 100 euros a semester or something. Nothing. It's nothing. People have enough trouble living and getting accommodation to go to university in the first place, to live in the area of the university, to move there, to sustain themselves. That's already difficult enough. So saddling them with this is just, it's wrong, it's disgusting, and this really needs changing. Democrats, as usual, just complete con job what they've done.